I was reflecting on the last few years and not wanting to be ignorant and indifferent anymore. And just looking back and looking presently at myself and realizing how much, recognizing every trait of everybody around me, looking at someone, understanding them, and not being ignorant as I had been before. Which, for example, eating food. I eat all food, and I don't placate on the idea of like, I'm not going to try this food, I'm not going to try this. And that's something as an individual, I'm ready to just explore and have an adventure and try. You know, I don't get disgusted. I don't have an idea of something. And that's the one thing. I don't want to be indifferent to when I see someone. I want to have a right assertion of who they are. You know, and I was thinking about what wrestling recently did when they asked, was it Triple H, one of the creative persons of the main company with WWE, asking him like about black wrestlers not being like top or like holding championships or something like that, or not being like put into a position where they're seen as the top people. And he was like, oh, I don't see color. And it's just the idea of like, you know, you're seen all around the world. Everybody sees you. You know, every kid, no matter what nationality, they see you. You know, pop culture, subculture, everywhere around the world sees you. So that representation is huge. So that idea of not understanding that and putting it that way is just so ignorant. And it reminded me of when I heard someone I had known in my past previously as a bus driver say, I'm racist toward everybody. And just like, man, I can't be close to this person because damn, that's racism right there. Basically saying like what my grandma had said all the time, like no matter what kind of racism they carry, they're going to carry that racism wherever they are. And they're going to carry that racism toward everybody. They're going to be mean toward every single person in every single room, in every single area. And, you know, some people are going to see that as kind of a strength. Because it's like, oh, yeah, I'm strong. I'm strong because I'm this kind of person. I'm strong because I'm able to hold my own. But the alpha thing is a myth. You know, if we're competitive to that level, we couldn't survive. We die. Like, to that extreme, we die. Like, and I'm talking even if there's people that are able to not be that way and to be taken advantage of, they wouldn't be able to be taken advantage of under their where they are, because they would still have someone to take advantage of. So there'd still be boop, 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 boop. There'd still be levels to that. Meaning that at some point, everybody dead. So there's an indifference that goes to layers. And at some point, you gotta basically work on the idea of like, okay, are we gonna work together or not? And that reminded me of what my family member, my grandma said to me, if you don't like it here, leave. And it reminded me of like, well, would a workplace say that? No, they wouldn't. You'd leave on your own terms, you know, you'd leave on your own. I'm sure many workplaces would probably not tell you that out there in the world, but they'd want you to. But I'm sure they wouldn't say that to your face. But it reminded me of just family. Just saying that, like, if you don't like it here, leave. If you don't like it here, leave. And I was like, oh shit. All right, well, I guess I can't stay. But it was just the idea. It made me think of so much. And just reminded me of like everything that I valued of myself wasn't there. And I got to value myself in order to really value those parts of everybody else too. And I got to really understand when I see somebody to be like, oh, that's the full self that I'm seeing too. And I really see that full self of that person because they're a beautiful person. And I am recognizing more that there's a full person there and they're displaying their full selves. And I recognize a lot more now. And I know when to step away in situations where it's like, oh, okay, this person's probably not approachable. This person probably is. And just an easy road to just kind of go like, okay, this is a day-to-day life kind of thing. You know, you just look around and you kind of just understand. And you don't qualm with it or think about it too much. You just understand. But I was just thinking about that quote from the Triple H thing from WWE when he was saying that. And it just made me think about the ignorance and indifference. I remember back in 2021, 2020, when my family and people like Scott, things like that, were all trying to make me feel indifference again. And I was like, man, I was in that for so long, thinking about grandma saying, if you don't like it here, leave. And it's like, man, I was okay, you know, obviously in some capacity, but I wasn't okay. Didn't like it, but I didn't leave, you know. Didn't like it, but I didn't leave. And a scary thing in a lot of ways. And I guess that's really the mental capacity of that. You know, you really understand it like the food palette. You get there and you seize everything. And I just walked away when I was ready to. Thank you.